Hey, Mark Linder, your friendly real estate agent. Always here as a free resource to you. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. But today what I wanted to talk about is like the top 10 things that buyers kind of hit me up with and talk to me about, when we're out there. And it's amazing that whether you've bought 3 or 4 homes or whether you've never bought a home at all, it's so easy to kind of lose sight of the way the process works from start to finish, which is why I always encourage my clients to come into my office. I got 15 of them in the area, or we can meet at the Starbucks, and let's do my buyer consultation where I answer all your questions. And so when you leave that meeting, you know exactly what's gonna happen from start to finish, because there's a lot of moving pieces in this thing. But let's go ahead and get into my list. The top 10 things that I hear from buyers, 14 years in the biz. What's some of the top stuff I hear? And by the way, I want to wish you all a Happy New Year, and I hope that everyone had a Merry Christmas and a good holiday season. But the number one thing that I hear a lot of is obviously the kind of nonchalant, casual buyer, objection. Well, I'm just not really that serious right now. We're just getting started. We're not really talking to anybody yet. You know what? I get that. And I totally respect that, but here's the deal. I'm not charging you anything to talk to me. And matter of fact, a lender's not gonna charge you anything to talk to them. Now here's what happens. Let's break down the scenario. You and your wife, you and your husband cruising around on an open house on a Sunday. You see this house that's amazing in this great neighborhood. You pop in, you got your kids with you. They're like, oh my God, I love this house. You guys love it. I mean, something in your gut it's just unbelievable, right? This house is just the perfect house. Oh my God, baby, we've got to get this house. So you scramble back. You're like, well, who's that lender? Who did Uncle Sam use, or whatever? You're scrambling to find a number. You call him up. It's the weekend. He's chilling. He's not answering his phone. You have to wait till Monday morning to talk to him. You're like, God, I hope the house is still available. I hope the house is still available. You talk to him Monday and he's like, everything looks good, guys, except it's gonna be about 2 to 3 months out because I need these 3 things back from you guys. I need you to take care of these 3 things. So now what's happened is you found a house you love, but you weren't in a position to buy it at that moment. And this is why I tell people, buying a home is not an event. It's not rolling through the drive-through line. It is a process. And you're never too early to know where you stand with a lender, even if you're living in a home that you never plan on moving out of. So that's number one. I say, talk to a lender, find out where you stand, and continually know where you stand, so that in the event that you change from a person who has no interest in moving to a person that wants to move right now, you're ready to pull the trigger, and you're not gonna miss out on that perfect opportunity for you and your family. Now, the number 2 thing I hear from people is, man, my lease doesn't expire for 2 or 3 months, so I'm not even gonna get started yet. This is another huge mistake, and I'll tell you why. In the world of getting into a home, a lease is paid in advance. So you're paying literally for the housing that you're gonna be in for the next 30 days in 30-day increments. With a purchase, you're paying in arrears, which means you're paying for the 30 days that you just were in the home previously. So when you close on a house, say February 1st, you don't make a payment until April 1st. So look, there's a gap right there, almost 2 months. So you really should get started, anywhere from 3 months in with your lease expiring, 2 to 3 months, maybe even sometimes 4, depending on if you don't mind a little overlap or the strategy that you have for getting out of your lease. But if you wait for a month or less, you've waited too long, honestly. Because it's going to take you a few weeks, to get out there and look and find the perfect house and coordinate this whole thing. So that's what I hear a lot from people, that they have a hard time coordinating what they have in their brain and the way that things really work. So that's why, again, the buyer consultation is key. You want to get in and talk to me. That way we can look at your particular situation and figure out what the best timing of all these things are. And then number 3, a lot of people, everybody likes new. And a lot of people were like, you know what? Appreciate it, Mr. Realtor, but we're gonna buy a new house. Well, here's the deal. A lot of people don't realize it, but you can use me as your realtor to help you find a new house as well. I would never buy a multi-$100,000 home without representation. Let me just say this. Would you go to court without representation if you were being brought up on charges, and if you were found guilty, you'd be in jail? No, you want somebody that knows their game. I've been in this business 14 years and done thousands of transactions, and I can tell you, you want somebody in your corner that's looking out for your best interests, whether you're buying new construction or pre-owned. And another thing about new construction is these people, when you get in there, they're gonna wanna try to talk you into using their lender. They're gonna wanna try to talk you into using, not using a realtor. If you're, are you under a buyer rep agreement with him? Oh, because we can work out a deal since you're not paying a commission and all this kind of stuff. You know what? It's not true at all. I've done tons of deals with new construction. They will give you the rock bottom price. They will take care of you, even if you use your own lender, which I recommend, because that lender is not in the builder's pocket. He's gonna be looking out for your best interests when it comes to your money. And then number two, have a realtor. Why? Because I can look in my MLS and I can research out the area, the schools, the appreciation rate, the market, what's going on nearby, what's being built, and I can tell you, is this builder overcharging for their homes? What is the projected appreciation of this neighborhood in this area? You need to make sure somebody who's not interested in selling you a home in that subdivision, because that's the only person they work for, versus somebody like myself, where I can sell you a home anywhere, the best area for you and your money. So that's the other thing. That's number three, right? So now let's move on to number four that I hear from people. Well, we're cruising around and we don't really have a realtor yet. We'll deal with that later. I'll just call the realtor on the sign of whatever home we like. Okay, and that sounds convenient. That sounds logical. Here's the sign. This is the home that we like. We want to see it. Let's call this realtor. Here's the problem. That realtor works for the seller, which means the seller wants to get as much money as he can, doesn't want to cut you a deal, which means I'm not saying they would do this, but they might not tell you about some material defects. They might not point out some of the more negative features that are obvious to a realtor, because they're representing the seller. They want to get that thing sold. Whereas if you have your own representation, you have a buyer's agent show you that house. Now all of a sudden this buyer's agent, I don't care, I'm gonna tell you the exact honest truth about that house, because I don't care if you buy that house. I want you to buy the house, not just that house. And that's the difference. So always get representation of someone that's representing you. And not to mention this other thing, intermediary status. If you call the sign of a listing agent, and you don't have an agent representing you as a buyer's agent, now what's happening is that listing agent is representing you and the seller, and guess what? By law, he can't give you advice or opinion. Why have an agent if you can't get advice or opinion? Get you a buyer's agent, because it doesn't cost you anything. I get paid from the seller. I get paid from the seller, but I represent you as your dedicated buyer's agent. Just like if I was listing a property, I would be representing the seller. And last but not least, we'll get into the other five because this video is getting long. But the number five is obviously, I don't want to pay a realtor. And a lot of people don't understand what I just said, and that is that as a buyer, I am of no cost to you, because I'm getting paid from the seller side of the proceeds. When a listing agent hires an agent to list their house, they get paid 6%. 3% goes to that realtor and 3% goes to the buyer's agent. Just because I'm getting paid from them doesn't mean I'm loyal to them, because I can get that anywhere. I'm gonna take you to the home that you like. I'm gonna represent your best interests. Get representation. It doesn't have to be me, but it needs to be somebody, and it needs to happen soon. Whether you're buying tomorrow or in 6 months, start talking to people. Sit down, have a consultation, a free consultation with me at one of my offices, my 15 offices here in the Metroplex, or we can meet at a Starbucks near you. Other than that, this video has gotten plenty long. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll hit you up with the other 5 next week. All right, take care, bye-bye.